Hello everyone, welcome to the video series on UFT automation. In this video we will look at the process of adding synchronization points. So before we dive into and look at how to add all these, let us first try to understand why we need synchronization points. So I believe the best way to explain that is take an example. So let us browse to your website. Let's go to let's say for example bbc.com. So I'm navigating to bbc.com. As you can see, it's taking like 2 to 3 seconds to kind of load the whole page. I believe it's still loading, so I think it's done now. So that means the page has to completely load, and it is called in terms of UFT, it is called syncing the page, meaning you're waiting for the whole page to load. Say you're waiting for this page and you want to do something else on this page, but say you found the page, but what if the link that you're waiting for or the image you're waiting for is still not there yet? So you need to really make sure that the whole page is loaded. So that's one technique. And let's say for example I want to click on radio. So it's taking like a couple of seconds. Say for example I want to click on categories, but categories, the page showed up but the categories is still not there yet. So when that happens, then you have to really wait for the whole page to load or wait for this particular object to become available, right? Say for example I want to click on sign in, but sign in never showed up. So the workflow, you went to I went to bbc.com, clicked on radio, you came here and you want to click on sign in and then go to your sign in page to sign in. So a couple of things. If you go back 2 pages, let's say here you clicked on radio and then you got the page, but sign in button didn't show up for a few seconds, and you're trying to click on an object that's not there yet, or the object is not ready yet, say for example, then there would be a problem. That means either you wait for the whole page to load completely, or wait for that particular object to become available. Check for its existence, or check if it's enabled, primarily those two properties, right? So that's why we need to add a synchronization points. And one of the examples is maybe this might not be a good case, but let's say you're trying to pull your statement. You're trying to retrieve your bank statement online, and sometimes what happens is some of the banks, what they do is they ask you to request, if it's older than 12 months, they ask you to request online, and it would take like a couple of minutes or so to display you a link on the page that would give you access to that older statement. So in this case, you have to wait on the page for a few seconds for that particular link to be made available. That means you have to wait for that. So these are the kind of situations in real-time applications that you would handle using synchronization points. Okay. Well, I guess enough of theory, and let's get into and see how we can add those. So there are different ways you can wait for, or you can sync for certain things or wait for certain things. So you could use a wait statement, you could use exist statement, you could use a sync method right on the web page, or you can use wait property on a object. You can wait for a certain property of an object to be available before you could do something. We'll look at an example, and then increase. You can increase the default synchronization time. Default sync time actually. That's default sync time. That's what I meant. So what is the before we dive into this, let's first talk about default sync time. So by default, when when script when you run the script, if UFT, if it does not find an object, it will wait for X amount of time, and that X amount of time is some default sync time, and that's defined at the test level. It's go under test settings, go to run. Okay, these are object synchronization timeout. So it will wait for 20 seconds, and if it doesn't find, then it will display an error saying that object not found. Okay, you can it's an editable box. You can bump it up, take it down depending on your needs. So that's a default synchronization timeout. So it will wait for 20 seconds for a page to sync, for an object to be made available. If it at any given point, if it is not finding an object, it will wait for 20 seconds. That's what it means. So that's sometimes that 20 seconds might not work for you. You might want to bring it down or take it up, or you might want to control. Maybe you don't want to increase the time, default time to 20, more than 20 seconds, but there might be a situation where on a specific spot you want to wait for more than 1 minute or 2 minutes. If you bump into that situation, the easiest way is add wait statement right before the line that you want to wait at, right? So what happens is that whenever the UFT sees this, the system, literally this test execution will pause there for these many number of seconds. So in this case, it will print date and time, wait for 1 second, then print date and time, wait for 2 seconds, same thing, 3 seconds, 4 seconds, 5 seconds. Let me go ahead and run it. I have 5 actions to demonstrate different things, but I'm controlling this script in a different way. So every action has something called exit action at the very first line. So if I were to run this script, it will see that line, to exit the action, and every action has that line in there. So see, it goes to every action, but the very first action is the exit action. So it'll go there, it'll exit the action, go there, exit the action. So I'm just using that little technique to control which action I want to execute, because I want to demonstrate this wait. So I'm going to comment this line out. And now if I run, this is the only action that will run. And now let's take a look at the output when it runs. It will print date and time, wait for 1 second, then do the same thing, wait for 2 seconds, do the same thing, wait for 3 seconds. It will go all the way to 5. And you can see the difference in seconds here: 3, 4, 6, 9. So it's probably 18. That's what we'll see the next one. 18, yep. So it'll exit other actions. So as you saw, you can actually manually introduce some pauses within your script, and you can control it with passing an argument. If you pass 10, it'll wait for 10 seconds. So that's how this wait works. Now let's take a look at next one, which is the exist property of a object. So here, this script, let me go to the very first script, uncomment this line, go back here and comment this line, because now I want to run, when I run the script, all I want to do is run the action 2. That's it. The rest of the actions, they still have this enabled, so these actions will not run. Now, primarily it will hit this line and exit the action. We go back. So here, the way this works is, dot, it's not exit, it's exist. Okay, What it does is primarily it will look for existence of something, and then you can do, you can apply some logic. If it is found, do something. If it is not found, do something. So that there, when you say .exit, it will literally wait for that object to show up. Say for example, here I'm starting the flight simulator application, and then I'm logging in, and then we all know when you log in, what you see is the flight reservation, window or screen. So after you log in, I'm saying, until the flight reservation screen is displayed, keep looping. It says do, it keeps printing this until this shows up, .exist. So that's, this is the exact same do loop that you have, learned in VB scripting. Same thing. So it will loop through this and then go here. Then it'll wait for what? 2 seconds. After it waited for 2 seconds, what it does is it'll go and open this application, Coral Painter Essential.exe. It will open the application, wait for, not wait, it's a loop. It will wait until the window is open completely, until this window Coral Painter Essential is showed up on screen. Once it is done, once it shows up, then it will close. So until it tries to open, let's say if it never shows up, it'll just sit here. And sometimes this comes handy depending on the need. Let me go ahead and run this and see how this behaves. As you can see, it printed waiting for flight reservation once there. Now it's waiting for 2 seconds. Now it started, Coral Painter application, and it finished the script. So it started. Let's go and take a look at the output here. So it did print, it did print waiting for Coral Painter Essential. So that's what that's what it does. It would wait there until this shows up. Once it is done, then it will exit the loop. You can, this comes handy. Say for example you're trying to click a button in your application, but that button gets only enabled after certain criteria is met in the background, so you're waiting on it. Then you can logically add this, a step similar to this, saying that if that button is enabled, then do something. So that's how you do it. And then let's take a look at the next one, which is syncing the whole page. It's a pretty standard property at the page level. So here, so this is trying to go to what is this page, bbc.com. Then it'll click on a link called Earth, and then that will take to this page, BBC Earth, and it'll sync the page. That it will when you say .sync, it will make sure that the whole page is loaded before it goes to line 23. That's the whole purpose of this .sync, and .sync is only applicable to web pages. So let me go ahead and run it. So going to bbc.com. You might have not noticed, but after clicking here, the script actually paused at line 21. By default on 19, it will obviously wait for 20 seconds. After it fires up the page, it will wait for 20 seconds because that's a default behavior. And then once the link is found, once it clicked on it, once we click on it, let's say if this wasn't there, it would go here and wait for 20 seconds. But this would actually make sure that we sync the whole page before we do anything, and especially in web testing, this will come real handy. .sync. And next, let me go ahead and enable this one. We go to the next one, which is the wait property. And wait property is pretty interesting actually. Before we dive into this example, let me take you to this sample page, to the URL. So this page, when you go there, you cannot click on this. You cannot click on please. It's a button. Please wait is a button. As you can see, you cannot click on it. So there's a timer there. Starts with 15. So once it hits 0, then the button will change to click me. So it changed to click me. So that means you have to wait for some time until this happens. I mean, this could be 15 seconds. That could be 2 minutes, 3 minutes, right? There could be some legitimate time that we have to wait there. But sometimes it could be 1 minute. Sometimes it could be 5 minutes. That's how the application is. So then that means we have to wait for this button to become click me, and when it becomes click me, that we'll click it, we get this message, we do OK. So that's how this works. So let's take a look at this script and see the behavior. Let's try to understand more here. Okay, so the very first line, okay, let me comment that line there. Okay, good. Okay, so it will open Internet Explorer, go to this page, and then here what I'm doing is I'm just using a print command to print the runtime property of this button, please wait button. I'm printing the inner text. It's the inner text is the HTML tag property of that particular web element here, web button. So when you first go to that page, it's you would see please wait. So from there I'm printing the inner text, and then what I'm doing here is I am saying I'm saying that wait on this button until its inner text changes to click me. So I'm waiting on this button using the wait property. I'm saying that I want the inner text to change to this, but I'm this is milliseconds, so 20,000 is 20 seconds, and you don't have to worry about remembering this thing. There are a couple of ways to add this one, and that is, let me show you. We can go to object repository, and we know that we are waiting on that web button. So that once we have this, so that's the button we are waiting on. Just drag and drop it there. So we get all the way till here, and we know we are waiting on the button. So it's a wait property, and the wait property is inner text. That is something that you have to know, because most of the web is inner text. Inner text, and we want the inner text to change to, as you can see, their property value. You want the property value to become click me, and you want to wait for that is in the timeout is in milliseconds. That means it will wait for that that many seconds before it times out, before it says that the object not found. So now that's one way to add. Let me show you another way. What you can do is, let's say, let me have the page open first. I mean, you can actually do, as you're recording, you can add sync points. Let me copy this URL. And while I'm on this page, let's say I want to record here. So I'm waiting on this one, right? There's see in the record toolbars, there's the very last icon here, 2 o'clock, that's a sync point, and click on the right object. Yeah, of course, I mean it changed, but if I had clicked it like 2-3 seconds ago, now let me repeat that. Okay. Now if I do sync and click on please wait, and I got this button. Now it says what do you want to look for, what property you want to look for inner text, and what should the property value be, and that is click me exclamation, and this is now it's milliseconds. Okay, and let me stop the script and look at this. This is a refresh. I'm going to remove this line. And look at this, is identical, except that there's one issue. The underscore 2, it's just it's captured at a different page. That's one thing. And another thing is it says this is a syntax error by itself. It has to be double quotes. If it is not, then it'll fail. Other than that, the whole thing is identical. So that's how you can either manually add, or you can add while you are actually recording. You can add the sync points as well. So it would wait for that long, and then once it is found, it will print the inner text, and then it will click on the web button, click me. So it will wait and then click and then close it. So let me go ahead and run this. Open the page. So it's 15 seconds, so it's going to wait for, I believe we have 20 seconds in there, so it'll wait for 20 seconds. Click me, then now it should click. Interesting. Click me. Sorry, I had another browser with the same URL. That's why it was confusing. So I closed all the browsers, running the script again. Okay, open the browser. So it should line 23. So it should wait for click me button. It's primarily it's waiting on the please wait button. It's waiting for it to become click me. Once it becomes click me, it will click on it, and it's finishing the rest of the script. Now you might be thinking, hey, it's 20 seconds here. The default is 20 seconds. We can see the impact. What we'll do is we'll go and change the run settings. We know that the counter is for 15 seconds. We'll change this to 4 seconds. So this says that you need to wait on an object only for 4 seconds. That's a default, but here it's 20 seconds. We know that it's for 15 seconds. So, and you know what, I'm gonna change this to 30, and let me run the script. So the default timeout is 4 seconds, but on that particular line 23, on the page itself, we know that it's 15 seconds, and I introduced 30 seconds into that line in there. So it will technically, it should wait for 30 seconds to find the object. It's done. So as soon as it's found, it clicked on it, and now we have that message, and it took care of it. Well, so that's the beauty of the wait property. So you can programmatically look for something, wait for it to come up, and then proceed with the test. So that's the beauty of the wait property. So well, that's all about synchronization points. And just as a quick recap, we can use a wait. This is not exist. So we used a wait statement to pause the execution for X amount of time, primarily in seconds, and then we used a exist property using loop. We waited until certain thing shows up, and we were able to sync the pages using .sync, and then we used wait property. Where is it? .wait property. Where is it here? .wait property to wait on the object until its proper new value of the property shows up. So this comes real handy. And also let me show you the sample application where you could use it in Windows based applications, and we'll look at this one real quick. So one of the good example here is, let's say for example, you cannot get the order number until you have this order is inserted. And another thing is that this doesn't get enabled until you have few other things were done. Let's say for example, I need to click, sorry, that was invalid. Until imports and got a ticket there. So this doesn't get enabled until I enter some name there. That's one thing. So if you're waiting on this thing, you can pretty much wait on this button becoming enabled. So that's just a quick example. Well, okay. Okay then, that's it about synchronization points, and I will see you in the next video.